Hey there. So, let me ask you something. When was the last time you noticed a problem in your neighborhood? Maybe the streetlights weren't working. Maybe there was trash on the sidewalk that nobody cleaned up. Maybe the park looked neglected. Maybe there was too much noise at night. We've all seen these things, right? These little issues that affect where we live. And here's the interesting question. When you saw that problem, what did you do? Did you complain about it to your friends? Did you ignore it and hope someone else would fix it? Or did you actually try to do something about it? Most of us, if we're being honest, we just complain or ignore these problems. We think, that's not my responsibility. Someone else should handle it. The government should fix it. But you know what? We all live in communities. We all share these spaces. And community problems affect all of us. So maybe, just maybe, we all have some responsibility to help make our communities better, even in small ways. Welcome to English Club Podcast. I'm Emily, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. This is our space where we learn English together in the most natural, real way possible, just like I'm sitting here having a conversation with you. No textbooks, no boring lectures, just real talk about real life. And speaking of community issues, something happened in my neighborhood just last week that really got me thinking about this topic. So there's a park near my apartment. It's a small park, nothing fancy, but it's nice. Or it used to be nice. Lately, it's been getting really dirty. People have been leaving trash everywhere. Empty bottles, food wrappers, all kinds of garbage. And the grass hasn't been cut in weeks. It looks terrible. And I would walk past this park every day on my way to work, and I would think, someone should really clean this up. This is awful. But I never did anything about it. I just complained to myself and kept walking. Until last week, when I saw an elderly woman trying to pick up trash in the park all by herself. She had a big garbage bag, and she was slowly bending down, picking up piece after piece of trash. And I felt so ashamed. Here was this woman who was probably in her 70s, trying to clean up the park by herself. And I, a younger, healthier person, had been walking past this problem every day without doing anything. So I stopped, and I asked if I could help her. And she smiled so warmly and said yes, she would love some help. The more hands, the better, she told me. So we spent an hour together cleaning up that park. And you know what? Other people saw us and joined in. By the end, there were about 10 of us, and we got the whole park clean. It looked so much better, and I felt great. Not just because the park was clean, but because I had actually done something instead of just complaining. That experience reminded me how important it is to care about our communities, to notice problems, to speak up, to take action when we can. And today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about: community issues, the problems we face in our neighborhoods, our towns, our cities, how to talk about them in English, how to discuss solutions, how to be an active, engaged member of your community. This topic is so important because we all live in communities. Whether it's a small village or a big city, we share space with other people. And the quality of our community affects our quality of life. If your neighborhood is safe
and friendly, you feel good. But if it's dirty, noisy, or unsafe, you feel stressed. So community issues matter. They affect our daily lives, our happiness, our well-being. Plus, being able to discuss community problems in English is a really practical skill. Maybe you need to report a problem to local authorities. Maybe you want to join a community meeting. Maybe you want to organize neighbors to solve an issue. Maybe you just want to have conversations about what's happening in your area. All of this requires specific vocabulary and phrases that we're going to learn today. By the end of this episode, you're going to know all the key vocabulary for talking about common community issues. You're going to learn how to describe problems in your neighborhood. You're going to understand how to suggest solutions and discuss improvements. You're going to hear lots of real examples from my own experiences, and hopefully you're going to feel inspired to be more engaged in your own community. And hey, before we dive in, if you're enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe to our channel for more English learning podcasts. It really helps us create more content for you. Your support truly means everything to us. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What exactly is a community issue? Well, a community issue is a problem that affects a group of people who live in the same area. It's not just your personal problem. It's something that impacts multiple people, the whole neighborhood or community. These issues can be big or small. They can be about safety, cleanliness, noise, traffic, facilities, environment, all kinds of things. Now let's talk about some of the most common community issues that people face. And as I go through these, think about your own community. Do you have any of these problems where you live? One of the most common issues is trash and litter. This is when people throw garbage on the ground instead of in trash cans, or when trash cans are overflowing and nobody empties them. This makes the area look dirty and unpleasant. It can also attract rats and other pests. Many neighborhoods struggle with this issue. In my previous neighborhood, this was a huge problem. People would just throw their garbage on the street. Fast food wrappers, plastic bottles, cigarette butts, everything. And the trash cans on the corners were always overflowing. Sometimes trash would pile up for days before anyone came to collect it. It smelled bad, it looked terrible, and it made me not want to walk around my own neighborhood. When we talk about trash and litter problems in English, we use specific vocabulary. We say there's litter everywhere, or people are littering in the park. We might say the trash cans are overflowing, or there's garbage on the streets. We describe it by saying the area is dirty and messy. We might complain that nobody picks up the trash. We might suggest that we need more trash cans, or we might say the garbage collection doesn't happen regularly. These are all really common phrases for talking about trash problems. And you know what's interesting? When I travel to different countries, I notice that some places have this problem much worse than others. And usually it's not about the people being different, it's about the systems in place. If there are enough trash cans, if garbage gets collected regularly, if there are penalties for littering, then the area stays cleaner. But if those systems aren't there, trash becomes a real problem. Another very common community issue is noise pollution. This is when there's too much noise in the area. The noise might come from different sources. Maybe it's traffic noise, cars, trucks, motorcycles driving by constantly. Or maybe it's construction noise. When they're building something nearby, there's drilling, hammering, heavy machinery. That construction noise can last for months or even years. Or maybe the noise comes from neighbors, someone playing loud music, people having parties, dogs barking all night. Or maybe it's from businesses, bars and clubs with loud music until late at night. All of these create noise pollution. I lived near a busy street for 2 years, and the traffic noise was constant, day and night. I got used to it eventually, but it was never pleasant, and I noticed I was more stressed during that time. When I moved to a quieter neighborhood, I slept so much better. When we talk about noise issues in English, we say it's too noisy here, or there's too much noise at night. We might complain that the traffic noise is unbearable. That's a strong word, unbearable. It means you can't bear it, you can't stand it. We use the term noise pollution to describe the overall problem. We might say, I can't sleep because of the noise. And when we're suggesting solutions, we might say we need noise restrictions. These are rules about how much noise is allowed and when. Traffic and parking problems are also extremely common community issues. Too many cars, not enough parking spaces, dangerous intersections where accidents happen, speeding vehicles driving too fast through residential areas, poor road conditions with potholes and cracks. In the neighborhood where I live now, parking is a nightmare. There are way more cars than parking spaces, so people park illegally, on sidewalks, in front of driveways, double parked on the street, and this creates so many problems. Pedestrians can't use the sidewalks because cars are blocking them. When we talk about traffic issues in English, we say there's too much traffic, or the roads are congested. Congested means blocked, too full. We complain that there's not enough parking, or that people park illegally. We might say cars drive too fast here, or this intersection is dangerous. When suggesting solutions, we might say we need traffic lights, or we need speed bumps. Speed bumps are those raised parts of the road that force cars to slow down. Safety and crime are serious community concerns. This includes theft, vandalism, violence, drug problems. When people don't feel safe in their own neighborhood, it's a major quality of life issue. I had a friend who lived in a neighborhood with safety problems. There were frequent break-ins, cars getting broken into, apartments getting robbed, and she told me she never felt relaxed at home. She was always worried. Eventually, she moved to a safer area, and the difference in her stress levels was incredible. When we talk about safety issues in English, we say the neighborhood isn't safe, or there's a lot of crime here. We might mention that we've had several break-ins recently. A break-in is when someone breaks into a building to steal things. We might say there's vandalism in the area. Vandalism is when people damage property on purpose. We might complain that the streets aren't well lit at night. When suggesting improvements, we might say we need more police patrols, or we need better street lighting. Poor maintenance of public spaces is another common issue. Parks that aren't taken care of, broken streetlights, damaged sidewalks, graffiti on buildings. When public facilities aren't maintained, the whole area looks neglected and feels less safe. There was a park near where I grew up that slowly deteriorated over the years. When I was a child, it was beautiful, clean, well-maintained, with nice playground equipment. But over time, the city stopped taking care of it. The grass wasn't cut, the playground equipment broke and wasn't replaced, and eventually people stopped going there. When we talk about maintenance problems in English, we say the park is neglected. Neglected means not cared for, ignored. We might say the streetlights don't work, or the sidewalks are broken. We might say nothing gets repaired, or the area looks run down. Run down means in poor condition, deteriorated. Environmental issues affect many communities: pollution, lack of green spaces, poor air quality, water problems. I lived in a big city for a few years where air pollution was a real problem. On bad days, you could see the smog in the air. Your throat would feel scratchy. When we talk about environmental issues, we say there's air pollution. We might complain that we need more trees and green spaces. Green spaces are parks, gardens, natural areas. We might say the river is polluted, or there's no recycling program. Lack of community facilities is another issue. Not enough parks, no community center, no playground for children, no public library. When I moved to a new neighborhood a few years ago, I was surprised to find there was no playground anywhere nearby. When we talk about facility issues, we say there's nowhere for kids to play, or we don't have a community center. A community center is a building where people can gather for activities, classes, meetings. We might say there's no public library nearby. Now, I want to share with you a detailed story about a community issue I was involved in solving. This happened about 3 years ago in the apartment building where I was living. The building had a big problem with the elevator. There was only one small elevator for a 10-floor building with maybe 80 apartments, and this elevator was constantly breaking down. And this wasn't just inconvenient, it was a serious problem because many elderly people lived in the building. When the elevator broke down, they literally couldn't get to their apartments. They couldn't climb that many stairs. For months, people complained. Everyone was frustrated. But the complaints were all individual. Nothing changed. Then one day, an elderly woman who lived on the 8th floor came home from the grocery store. The elevator was broken again. She tried to climb the stairs, but she only made it to the 3rd floor before she had to stop. She was exhausted. Fortunately, someone found her and helped her, but it could have been really dangerous. And when other residents heard about this incident, people were angry. This was a safety issue. So a few of us decided to organize. We created a flyer explaining the elevator problem and the safety concerns. We put this flyer under every door in the building, inviting everyone to a meeting. About 40 people came to the meeting, and we discussed the problem. We decided to write a formal letter to the building management. This letter would be signed by as many residents as possible. We collected signatures from 65 residents. That's
Every apartment. And you know what? The management took us seriously this time. They brought in a professional elevator company. The company did a thorough inspection and found that the elevator needed major repairs. So they did a complete overhaul, and they implemented a regular maintenance schedule. That experience taught me that individual complaints often get ignored, but when a community comes together, when people unite around a shared concern, they have real power. Now, let me talk about different approaches to solving community issues. One common approach is to report the issue to local authorities. Most cities have departments responsible for different issues. Many cities now have websites where you can submit reports online. When you report an issue to authorities, it's important to be clear and specific. Don't just say, "My neighborhood has problems." Instead, say exactly what the problem is, where it is, and how it's affecting residents. Another approach is to organize with your neighbors. You can start a petition. A petition is a document that many people sign to show they support a particular action. You can hold a community meeting. You can create a neighborhood group or association. You can organize volunteer efforts. Let me share another story. In one of my previous neighborhoods, there was an empty lot that had become basically a garbage dump. People were throwing trash there. Some neighbors wanted to clean it up and turn it into a community garden. We organized a massive cleanup day. About 30 volunteers showed up. We spent an entire Saturday hauling away all the trash. Then we applied for a community garden grant from a local nonprofit organization. We also asked for donations from local businesses. It took 6 months, but we did it. We transformed that garbage dump into a beautiful community garden, and that garden became a real source of pride for the neighborhood. Now I want to talk about the language we use when we're suggesting solutions to community problems. When suggesting solutions, we often use modal verbs like should, could, and need to. We might say, we should install more streetlights, or we could organize a neighborhood watch. We also use conditional language. If we all work together, we could clean up the park. If the city installed speed bumps, cars would drive more slowly. We use phrases like, one solution would be to, or a possible approach is, or we could try. These are collaborative ways to suggest solutions. Let me give you some examples. For a trash problem, you might say, I think we need more trash cans in this area. Right now there's only one trash can on this entire block. If we had trash cans every 50 meters, people would have more places to dispose of garbage properly. For a noise problem, you might say, the construction noise starting at 6 a.m. is really affecting people's sleep. Perhaps we could request that they start later, say at 8 a.m. on weekdays. For a safety problem, you might say, this intersection has had 3 accidents in the past month. We should request that the city install a traffic light here. Now let's talk about being an active community member more generally. One way is simply to know your neighbors. In many places, especially in big cities, people don't know the people living next door to them. But knowing your neighbors creates community. It means you can help each other. I made an effort to introduce myself to neighbors when I moved to my current
Apartment. Now I have neighbors I can chat with. Neighbors who I ask to watch my apartment when I travel. Another way to be active is to participate in community events. Many neighborhoods have events like street fairs, community meetings, festivals. I try to go to my neighborhood association meetings when I can. Supporting local businesses is another way to strengthen your community. When you shop at local stores instead of big chains, that money stays in your community. Being respectful of shared spaces is important too. This means not littering, not making excessive noise, cleaning up after your dog. These might seem like small things, but they show consideration for others. Reporting problems is also part of being an active community member. When you see something that needs attention, report it. I keep the city's service request number saved in my phone. Being positive and solution-oriented is important. It's easy to complain, but try to be constructive. When you identify a problem, think about possible solutions. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to emphasize something really important. Community issues affect all of us. We all have a stake in where we live, and while we can't solve every problem, we can all contribute in some way. When people come together around shared concerns, real change is possible. I've seen it happen. That broken elevator got fixed because residents united. That garbage dump became a beautiful garden because people worked together. That park got cleaned up because a few people decided to take action. You don't have to be an expert or a leader to make a difference. You just have to care. You just have to be willing to do something instead of just complaining. So I want to encourage you, look around your community. What issues do you see? What problems affect your daily life? And then ask yourself, what can I do about it? Learning to talk about community issues in English gives you the tools to participate in these important conversations. You now know the vocabulary for describing common problems. You know how to suggest solutions. Use this language, practice it, and get involved in making your community better. I'd love to hear from you. What community issues do you see where you live? What problems affect your neighborhood? Have you ever been involved in solving a community problem? Leave a comment below and practice describing community issues in English. And please, if you found this episode helpful, like and subscribe to English Club for more English learning podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, communities are made up of people, and every person can make a difference. You can make a difference. So notice the problems around you. Speak up about them. Take action when you can. Work with your neighbors. Be part of the solution. See you in the next episode. Keep practicing your English, and remember, you're doing great. Take a look around your neighborhood this week. What do you notice? What could be better? And what small action could you take to help? Take care, and bye for now.